alleged rebirth. Checked for correctness. Sfath, Wednesday, April 16, 1947. Niederflachs, 1253. Bülach.
The first thing to be brought up is the so-called rebirth, and to serve to clarify that this does not and also cannot exist, because the creation energy form is a form which is, so to speak, a particle of the energy and power of creation. This energy, with its power existing in it, cannot become flesh. Consequently, it cannot be reborn as a human being, because as an eternally existing creation, life energy, it is absolutely pure energy with great power, but not material like the human being which it animates and which is transient. After dying, and therefore when death has occurred, the body dissolves, decays, and fades away, leaving only the bones. And so when the life energy of creation escapes from the material human body and it becomes lifeless, it is dead. As pure energy and power, the body cannot be reborn, but it is given to it, like every kind of life form, that it must be animated by the creation life energy. Consequently, only through this does the body have life energy. This is not only the case with human beings, but also with all animals, all creatures, and every other life form, which can only live and exist through the life energy of creation. However, with regard to the body, this is only according to the form of energy and strength that are measured by the body itself, and according to its constitution, etc. All this, however, is not transferred after death through a rebirth into a body that is reborn in the same way after death, or changed in terms of creation energy, because in this sense there is no rebirth, which is impossible at all. As an example, the following is to be explained with regard to the fact that there is no rebirth in the sense that, for example, when a human being has died, he will be born again as the same person sooner or later and will therefore lead another life. The basic explanation is that on the 21st day after conception, the creational life energy, which has only developed further for a certain period of time in the creational energy level intended for this purpose, integrates itself into the new life form to be created, and thus into an absolutely new personality, whereby the life force of the new embryo becomes active. And this is also provided with the factor of consciousness through the creational life energy. This creates a harmonious, cohesive whole that determines a tribal function from which everything can be organized, structured, and cooperatively integrated and controlled in all processes of life. Consciousness thus integrates itself into the new life and successfully combines all material and creative energetic factors, enabling absolutely smooth cooperation. This results in the formation of the wholeness of the full function of the human being's consciousness, which can necessarily develop the synapses of his brain through the necessary networking and interconnections to the absolute ability of the thinking function, reasoning, understanding, and reasoning as well as logic. The example given is based on the fact that the whole life and existence of the entire creation, which is nature, fauna and flora, the universe, the stars, planets and moons, meteors, comets, and the entire cosmos, the universe and all existence in general, is equally built and exists on the principle of becoming and passing away. And just as the creation energy of life is a part of creation energy itself, so it animates every single life form, without exception, throughout the universe, and therefore also women and men. Now, the effective fact is that everything that happens in this respect, in the actual realm of creation life energy, also arises in natural life, and the entire plant world is organized within it. It is the practice of creation that what arises in the realm of the creation energy levels with regard to the creation life energy, with regard to the life forms moving in the existence of life itself, namely that these continue to develop in their form as creation life energy resting in the creation energy realm. This happens by working through or processing what has been held and stored in the consciousness during the lifetime. This is an evolutionary process that occurs with all creation life energy, which animates life forms that are self perpetuating through material life and thus belong to the fauna. However, the beings of the flora, that is to say, the plant world, which includes everything from the smallest plant to the giant tree, do not belong to the fauna. Their creation life energy is of a different kind with regard to evolution, because it does not evolve towards a new life in the creation energy realm, because it develops by the leaves of trees or the blossoms of flowers and herbs, etc., withering, withering and falling off, while the root system goes into a dormant state for a certain time, only to awaken again to green and new life. This is at least the case with those plants that have a perennial lifespan, such as grass, etc. But there are also fruit trees and fruit bushes that shed their ripe fruit or are plucked, which then simply go dormant only to green up and flower again, thereby producing new fruit. The root system of the plants, which forms new regenerating energy and strength during the period without growth or after the harvest period in the following resting phase, so that the plants can blossom again and bear fruit once more, can be understood in comparison to the resting phase and its processing of all the stored knowledge of the life energy of creation. Thus, there is an equality between the material with regard to the development of the truly absolutely new personality that arises through the resting learning pause of the creation life energy, as well as their awakening plant, such as the simple blade of grass or any other plant. So, in this way, exactly the same is given, whereby only the wise is different. On the one hand, materially in pure creation energetic form for all mobile, self moving life forms, but on the other hand, also for all life forms that are bound to a place and cannot move independently. Immediately after the death of the body, the consciousness reunites with the creation life energy that is absolutely appropriate only for it, and also with the creation energy level in the realm of the effectively countless creation energy levels that are only assigned to the respective entity genera species in the universe space or creation realm. This is in order to fully process all the countless knowledge experiences gathered in their previous existence over a longer or shorter period of time. In this respect, everything that has arisen in the personality or human being during their existence in consciousness, in the same way as in animals, creatures, or other life forms. In this sense, truth and understanding are processed. The creation life energy learns in peace the knowledge experiences that it has acquired and processes in the creation energy level. The acquired knowledge experience of the previous existence as consciousness in a material body of a new personality or human being, such as an animal, creatures, or other life form, which also have a kind of instinct consciousness. But this, according to their genus or species, is thus processed, as it is then stored for all time in the creation life energy, and this then evolves as a result. This in turn benefits the next new personality, which may be sexually different from the previous or deceased one, which is enlivened by the further evolved creation life energy and unconsciously becomes more advanced and more evolved through the knowledge of consciousness working in it. However, the form of creation life energy that animates a human being's consciousness in terms of creation energy and thus also the corresponding personality that is formed by it is shaped by the human being himself. This takes place through his thoughts, actions, behavior, and actions, etc., in his self determining value or unvalue, consequently, through his self education and self forming. This is given to the consciously thinking and acting human being, as it is to the animal, animalistic, or other life forms, according to their genus and species, only through instinctive consciousness. And so, when, after the conception of a new human life, the pregnancy reaches the appropriate point in time with the 21 days of development for the creation life energy to enter the embryo, then it is animated, which also marks the beginning of the formation of the internal organs and thus the previous stage of fetal development, which then ends with hatching or birth. With the entry of the creation life energy into the embryo of the completely foreign and new body, which really has absolutely no relation to the previous body, its personality and life, everything is now new. With the entry of the creation energy, the form of consciousness also arises from it, which is universal creation energetic and located in the brain area, but not as a brain organ, but as pure creation energy. Consciousness works throughout life according to the state and ability as well as the use of the brain organ. That is to say, it can be used and work in a highly efficient, subdued, conscious, subconscious, confusing, even pathological, etc. way. After a longer or shorter period of time, when all knowledge experience has been processed, a consciousness and thus a new personality is revived, which is conceived as a human being by human beings, by man and woman. This happens when a sperm cell or sperm of the man fertilizes an egg cell of the woman, whereby such fertilization normally takes place in her fallopian tube. Provided that a healthy egg cell is expelled from the ovary, and thus a so called ovulation takes place in this wise, and the egg cell is actually absorbed by the fallopian tube. After conception, a so called yolk sac is formed within a few days, after which the embryo emerges after a certain time in the womb, which forms naturally during the developmental stage and lies within the amniotic sac laterally under the uterine lining. This is also where most of the internal organs and external body structures develop. This natural process is formed before all time, before the actual life. The life energy of creation enters the embryo, which occurs on the 21st day after conception or fertilization of an egg. When the creation life energy enters the embryo on the 21st day after conception, an energy impulse occurs that immediately leads to independent life, through which the new consciousness is also awakened. After this, actual life begins in the womb, whereby the embryo grows, becomes larger, and thus begins the so called embryonic stage, which lasts around 8 weeks, during which the embryo develops into a fetus, which takes place around 9 weeks after fertilization. Then, usually 9 months after fertilization, the developing fetus is born as a baby. After birth, this baby grows and becomes an adult human being who is supplied with the life energy of creation throughout its development and lifespan until it dies. That is to say, until the time of its death, and thus before the decay and decay of the material body.